All right, you guys, welcome. In this video, I'm super honored to sit down with my really good friend, also a board member at Arizona for Responsible Tourism. We're in one of her places in Paradise Valley. It's absolutely gorgeous, specializes in more midterm, but I'm gonna pick her brain about rentals, licensing, permits, policy, whatever she is willing to share. So stick around, it's gonna be a great video. Yeah, welcome. Welcome to the first of maybe many conversations to come.
Maybe.
But it's super excited to have you here. I'd love for you to introduce yourself. I could probably talk about you forever, but.
I know I'm that cool. I am Janaya Goslin. I own a company called Janaya and Company. It's a real estate team that specializes in working with investors. I also am co-owner and founder of Arizona Desert Vacations. We're a short-term rental management company here in the greater Phoenix area. We manage 50 houses about right now and growing pretty quickly, and have established a team on that side too. In addition to that, I do fixes and flips and all kinds of other stuff. Just passionate about real estate and all things short-term rentals and everything combined.
That was another reason why I wanted to sit down with you. I love real estate so much. We've moved like 22 times as kids growing up. Both my brothers are real estate agents. My one brother's more of a real estate agent in Malibu, and it's just been fun. It's so fun. Like seeing the homes, doing the remodel and all that stuff. What got you into real estate? How'd you get there?
I don't even know, because my parents used to joke. They would go shopping for houses. We moved a lot too, and we'd go looking at houses, and I hated it. And so when I told my parents I was getting my real estate license, my mom was laughing. Really? But I started in restaurant management and other things like that I've just always been in sales, and it's just kind of as a natural fit. Moved into a new area in Washington State and was like, I'm gonna try something new, and dove in as the market crashed.
So 2008?
Yep.
Yeah, wow.
Yep, a long time ago.
Thick skin now though.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. So that probably leads to a lot of what you're doing now, because you were in hospitality, doing a lot of hospitality stuff. Real estate is still a lot of hospitality, but it's obviously a lot of sales. So that probably was just like and I'm sure we'll go into it a lot more, but was that kind of the natural fit that you were working with investors in real estate, and STR conversation was coming up, and then how'd you start doing real estate and then get into rentals?
So I moved here 3.5 years ago or so, and before I moved out here, we actually bought our first short-term rental, which wasn't even in the United States, and it was probably the biggest purchase I've ever made in my life, and I had a little bit of a heart attack. But so we bought a short-term rental in the country of Belize, and that's kind of what started it. My business partner and my best friend Lori, we've always been in kind of the investment world. Her dad's owned dozens of houses and lots of short-term rentals and all of that. So we just kind of naturally fell into that. And then when I moved here, I had a 12-year book of clients and colleagues in Washington, and they all were ready to buy second homes and dive into the short-term rental market. So it became very clear that was going to be a specialty when I moved here.
That's very cool. And then since the short-term rental was new to you, was your goal from day one to be the white glove service you are now, where you're doing all the management, helping them find the properties because of real estate background? Or could you explain a little bit of that growing pains and process?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually started it because we saw a need for doing it better. It was kind of a joke with my partner and I. We thought we were just going to make it a side hustle. Okay, we can manage like 3, 5, 6 houses and feed our investment real estate habit, like our flipping fund or whatever. That would have been cool at the time, but it became very obvious very quickly that we had been able to do stuff a lot better than a lot of other places. And because we look at it as a whole package, not just a hospitality industry, which I think is kind of a big piece that's missing. We treat it like the business that it is to the owners and to ourselves. And it's just kind of blown up.
Cool. That's interesting. Can you maybe explain, like if I'm one of your clients and I come to you, I have, $2 million, I want to get an investment place. Could you explain to people like what that process looks like and what what makes you a little bit different, some of the advantages? I mean, I could already think of a few, but like, I'd love to hear from you. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, depending on what their budget is, we have access to a lot of tools. We are able to show them, here's your pro forma for what you might be looking at as far as potential income. If you buy a house in this range or this range, maybe it looks like you buy $2 million, $1 million houses. Maybe it looks like we help them create a portfolio that's gonna help them seek and find the best revenue generating properties for them.
That's why it's super important to always work with a real estate agent that understands short-term rental and investing. There's a lot of real estate agents, I feel, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, that don't know the real estate market as well with short-term rental, that combination together. So that's like a huge thing when you're looking for a good agent. Side tip.
Yeah, it's super important. I work with a lot of other agents. I teach them, I educate them, teach classes, but I do find that so many really have no idea. And to be honest, we've taken on some properties that it's like, I maybe wouldn't have probably steered you in this direction. We'll make it work, but there's a lot of little nuances that go into finding the right property that is short-term rental, that will be profitable. That people just really don't think about.
Totally. So now you got that scenario. I got my money with you. We found 2 properties. What's kind of your next steps? Do you coach them through the process? Do you show them like potential revenue numbers? Do you give them ideas of budgets of a remodel, which I can see going on here, or furniture designs, like any of that? Do you try to do the whole thing?
We do the whole package. And that's so we don't just have the real estate, we also have lending. My business partner is a real estate or a lending broker. So we have access to the best possible financial loans that you could, like any financing that is best for each person. It's different for everyone. We have the design process. I head up kind of our design team. I think you've seen, I was on a video the other day and one that was in full renovation mode. The house is completely torn apart. And do a bunch of unique, like we can do full construction or we can just come in and furnish the house.
I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage, especially when you know what to design for an investment purpose / real estate short-term rental purpose, because it is a different design, it's a different layout. Sometimes colors matter. Sometimes you have to have a ping pong table over here,
rather than the dining room.
Yeah. Instead of a dining room table, because depending on what it is, that's cool. Okay, so then the person gets the house with you, you help them through that scenario, help them through the budgets, so they don't feel blindsided, right? You're going through the process, and then you got it. Then when you go live on Airbnb or VRBO or direct bookings, do you manage it from all the way out from there?
Absolutely. So I have a full team of people who help manage. I've got field managers. I've got an executive director on the property management side. So the onboarding is seamless. We make sure that we have professional photos that are not real estate listing photos. They're actual short-term rental tailored photographs. Another huge, massive game changer. I mean, we're in a market now where it's saturated, and in order to really stand out and still succeed, you've got to do the extra things.
I love that you said that. I'm always like preaching for people to get good photos, right? It's just like mind-blowing. There's so many good photographers and artists out there who can get you great photos. Don't just try to do it with your iPhone. It's like so mind-blowing. You're gonna spend all this money in investment getting your place ready. Like one of the most important parts.
Your biggest return, you're gonna get a huge ROI on professional photos. It's not even, I wish I knew the percent, but it's massive.
Yeah,
versus what a house is gonna rent for if you use your iPhone or if you have someone come in and take them professionally. And it's really not, it's a pretty nominal cost in comparison.
See? Pay attention, she's dropping some bombs here. You heard it. That's like a couple tips already. You guys better take some notes on. Yeah, that's cool. And then it gets running. So then we won't go too far down the rabbit hole, but a lot of people that watch the channel enjoy understanding a lot of the back end too. Same with myself. So and with the industry growing so fast, would you explain a little bit about some of the really helpful tools that you're using? Like, are you using dynamic pricing? Do you have a management software system? How are you getting organized with all your bookings? Like, it sounds overwhelming, especially like if you have 3, but she has over 50 properties that that sounds insane. Like, and if you're not really organized and got your system in place, none of this would be possible.
There's no way. I mean, and not just that, but we manage some in Belize too, so there's no way. There's no way. Like,
that too.
You just can't do it. So, yes, we use dynamic pricing. I always tell people that with that being said, it's not like a push and play. You don't just plug and play. Like, that's something you still have to actually have someone behind the scenes who's working the system, changing things, because it doesn't work on its own if you don't.
Great point.
We have management software. We own our own cleaning company. We have cleaning software that's tied to that. We may or may not actually be creating our own kind of platform here very shortly.
Stay tuned.
That's something that's in the works because we've seen a need for some other things in the industry.
I'm sure I can add some tips to that. I've worked with a lot of different softwares, right?
Right.
But it's crazy because the industry is just growing so much, and it's cool to see more tools and tech. But at one point, it's like, man, am I supposed to know all these tech? It's like, it's hard to keep up sometimes. It's like, oh, this is out, this does this does that. You're like, it's just gonna make my life easier. I got to connect all these pieces together.
Right.
And that's cool. I'm glad to hear that, because I think it's super educational for people that like getting your systems in place is just
systems
so
is everything. Real estate and property management. Without systems, I wouldn't be able to do what I do every day. Without leverage, without my team, there's no possible way we could do everything that we do. And
then with your company, maybe give me a few highlights of what makes you different, because I know you talked about that quite a bit, where you're like, we saw a gap in the industry that wasn't quite there, wasn't what you expected. I would love to know like what that is. You don't have to maybe so much detail, but like what's making you really different? Why are the clients extremely happy with working with you? They're coming back. Like, I'd love to know a little bit about that.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the biggest piece is always customer service, and that's what's always going to help you have the biggest success. That is also on both ends though. We want to give white glove service to our homeowners as our clients, but we also want to give white glove service to the guests to make sure that they're getting an exceptional experience. And because of that, in our responses and our response times, we get a very high rebooking rate for people who want to come back.
That's cool.
And then they end up being direct bookings to us. But in addition to that, it's also dealing with the businesses and how they operate, how we maximize their revenue, how we maintain their house. That is probably, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that sets us apart. We all have traveled a lot, and we've all stayed in those Airbnbs where you walk in and the pictures were insanely amazing and you're super excited, right?
Yeah.
And then you walk into the house and you're like, what the heck? This is not even like, furniture is broken, stuff's just not maintained, and that's unacceptable. So we are not just managing a short-term rental business, we are managing an asset and making sure that that asset is maintained so that it maintains its value and increases its value is a big part of what makes us different.
Yeah, that's really cool, because it is, some people could be their life savings investment on the house or their first journey, and you want that journey for them to be amazing as much as you can control on the owner side and the guest side, right? They could just now see your company. And like, I've talked about this a few times too, with the industry getting so saturated on listings popping up, right? I think it's starting to become more and more important to build a brand and a brand image. So guests will be like, hey, I'm staying with Janaya's properties because I've seen the logo somewhere else. I trust that the photos are what they say they are. They have good customer service. Instead of, and no offense to the ones that are just starting that have one property, I'm sure there's a bunch that are amazing also, but you just maybe as a guest have to ask a little bit more questions and make sure that it is what it says it is. And like, at least you got a little bit more insurance with a company like you as a guest and a homeowner, right? That you're showing up, the property's clean, remarkable.
Yeah. And if something's broken, we have someone there. We have the ability and a team in place that can be there in hopefully not, I mean, sometimes minutes if it needs to be, but next day or whatever, if it needs to be addressed, we can take care of that.
That's cool. Yeah, it's super interesting chatting with you about that, because I do see that in your, so to switch subjects a little bit, Janaya is also one of our board members. She joined, how long ago now?
Maybe a year ago. Has it been that
Wow,
long already?
has it really? No way.
I don't know.
I feel like it's almost been a year, but she came on board and has just been a total rock star when it comes to policy and being a voice and helping step it up in the webinars and kind of just helping all of the board members level up a little bit. And it's been like an honor working with you on policy. I learn all the time. What got you to like start paying attention to policy and wanting to be a voice instead of sitting on the back and hoping somebody else is going to do it for you?
That's pretty easy, actually. I mean, I've got 50 owners who are dependent on this, right? And the majority of who we work with as short-term rental owners are not like big corporations. They are individuals who bought one house and they're trying to increase their personal wealth. That is the best way to do it, through real estate.
Yeah.
If we don't sit here and speak up and advocate for them, and as well for my employees, we may not have, things could just end.
Yeah.
And so it just became very clear that I needed to be a voice, that I have a platform that I can use and be able to speak up for fair regulation. I don't think that there should be no regulation. I absolutely think that we need regulation. Mm-hmm. We've seen what happens when you don't through the media.
Yeah, and like I said, she's been a great asset, really helping all of us in our webinars and educating. And we talk about it all the time. I think the biggest part about policy and advocacy is the education piece. There's a lot of people just maybe don't do the research, or they don't know when they're getting into it, and then they get into it and they find out that maybe they need a noise monitor because the neighbors are complaining about the noise. Like, these things that some people don't know. And if you work with a good property manager, they will help you with all that way ahead of time and have it dialed in before you go live and have an issue. The chances of an issue become way less, which overall helps the entire industry.
Yeah, the biggest key to success is not being reactionary. It's being proactive and making sure that you have everything taken into consideration so that you're safeguarded from a lot of things like that. The noise monitors is a huge one. People don't even really know that they're there until there's an issue. So you have police or a nasty neighbor contacting you, you can pull that back and say, well, actually, let's look back and see, like, how noisy was this house?
It was pretty loud. You're like, you're right, it was. But now it's not. See, I got a little device that says it wasn't. Yeah, that's really cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time because, like you said, we're in like a over $2-3 million house. She's got a couple more of those. I'm sure her clients are blowing up her phone as it is. But like, it's super fun to be able to talk with your peers at this level, and we always have an open conversation. So like, please check her out. Where can more people follow you? Where can people see you? Where can they learn?
So our Facebook and Instagram, I have to ask my social media people if we have. Well, I don't know what channels we have.
We'll put it down
but,
here.
Our company, our property management company is Arizona Desert Vacations. My real estate team is Janaya and Company, and so you can find azdesertvacations.com is our website. That's where all of our properties are listed, and we've got more that we're constantly onboarding all the time. I think we've got like 5 in that process right now. But yeah. Just look us up online.
Even though she only knew some of it, we'll just put the rest down below. Okay, let's wrap
it. About leverage.
Yeah, exactly. Thank goodness we have copy down below.
I can call my assistant and she would tell me.
See, that's what happens when you get so powerful. You have great assistants that do that stuff for you, and then you just kind of let the brain relax and you forget.
Relax? No, I find something
see how
else
relaxed
to do.
she is? Definitely not relaxed. We nonstop. But to wrap it up, if you had to give somebody who's watching that, there's a lot of misinformation or TikTok Joe that's like passive income, like if you had to give a piece of advice to somebody that really wants to get into this industry, real estate and or vacation rentals, is there something that you would share to them?
Yeah, I think the biggest part is aligning yourself with a team. Halt!
Excuse me, I just choked on something. Okay, start over. Sorry, I almost died. I was like, oh, wait, stop. Okay, oh, do that again. Woo.
I think the biggest piece is aligning yourself with a team who can set you up for success. Don't think that you can just get into an industry and figure it out yourself. I'm still learning every day. I learn from you. I learn from all of my other friends in the industry. But having the right team in place to help you succeed, because we're in almost anything that you dive into anymore, you have to be at an elevated game in order to be at the top. And you don't get that way by figuring it out yourself.
Damn, I love that. Love you. That was amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Go check her out. Like, subscribe, share it to your friends, do whatever you want to do, whatever, and we'll see you another time. Right? Maybe?
Yep.